Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Villanova Stadium for tonight's Week 7 matchup between the New York Rumble and the Philadelphia Spinners. I'm Jeff Poster, joined alongside by Dusty Rhodes here on MLU Live, so thanks for joining us. It's a battle between David versus Goliath tonight. The 1-4 Rumble traveling here to Philadelphia to take on the 4-1 Spinners. That's fourth and first place here in the Eastern Conference, respectively. It's a warm night here at Villanova Stadium, 81 degrees, a little bit of wind sitting at 12 miles per hour, humidity 53%, and clouds looking pretty good right now. It's a blue sky, but it's still 20% chance of precipitation here at Villanova Stadium between these two teams in the Eastern Conference. We'll step away and come back with a preview of tonight's game.
You are just one of a kind, my dear. Such a good find, it's clear that you were made for me. We could be believably so carefree, for all the world to see that you were made for me.
Everybody, welcome back to Villanova Stadium, where the New York Rumble traveled down here to Philadelphia to take on the Spinners. The Rumble at 1-4, the Spinners at 4-1. Jeff Poster alongside Dusty Rhodes. And Dusty, as we usually do, let's take a look at some of the players to watch here tonight. First for the Rumble, it's their former MVP, Chris Mazur.
Well, on a lot of levels, he's still their MVP. He's responsible for 15 assists this season, which is 7th in the MLU on the whole. He's the Rumble's leading scorer, and more than that, he's kind of the key cog in their offense. The disc goes through him even when he's not throwing the goals, and if he's not getting the disc underneath in order to throw downfield, he's very likely to push downfield, catch a couple goals from some of the other throwers on New York. And if you want to have an idea of how their offense is going generally, he's a perfect player to watch.
So Mazur, the veteran for the Rumble, and now on the other side, it's the exciting rookie, Billy Sickles, for the Spinners.
Again, this is a player who has surprised everybody this year. He's been leading all rookies with 26 goals and assists total, and he's one of the favorites for the Rookie of the Year in the East. More than that, what he's provided for the Spinners downfield is another dynamic cutter to put next to Jake Rainwater and to allow Matt Glazer to have more space to work as well. We've seen a bunch of good seasons from Philadelphia's offense, largely due to their ability to add more powerful players downfield.
Well, the Spinners right now trending in the opposite direction than the New York Rumble. Let's take a look. What do the Rumble have to do to pull the upset here tonight?
Well, the thing that we see here listed second is 4 whole quarters. Generally, they've scored well in the fourth quarter and the second quarter, but they've failed to score well in the first quarter and the third quarter. So they need to come out to start this game well, and then once we get to halftime, whether they're ahead or behind, they'll need to come out strong in that to make the second half competitive. And at the end here is everybody's favorite, apparently, within the MLU, is that drops just make me sad, and New York leads the league in drops. The problem with drops is that it just ruins the beauty of the game. It's like unforced errors in tennis. If you have too many of them, it becomes unwatchable. But at the same time, they provide drama for the game. They provide the unexpected outcome.
Well, that's what New York has to do and not make Dusty sad. What does Philadelphia have to do to stay up top and keep pushing their lead here in the Eastern Conference?
The biggest thing for Philadelphia is to make it easy because they're playing from ahead right now. They're expected to win this game. They're playing from first, and it's a different mentality than when you're trying to claw up from the bottom in order to get to first. So once you've displayed the ability to play well, the pressure is on you to maintain that. So they have to keep this streak rolling. They've won 3 games in a row right now, which is their longest win streak over the course of their existence.
All right, we will step away, but when we come back, we should be able to talk to Trey Katzenbach here on MLU Live. Welcome back to Villanova Stadium, the New York Rumble on the road here to take on the Spinners. And right now we have one of the leaders here for the Spinners, Trey Katzenbach, is fieldside. How's it going, Trey?
Great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Trey Katzenbach, Dusty Rhodes here.
Hey,
Got a couple questions for you. First, what sort of confidence does your team get from being in first place at this point in the season?
Well, we take every game one at a time, but definitely winning a couple games in a row has put us in a nice positive mindset, and we're ready to come out here and kind of build on what we've done week by week.
Speaking of what you've done so far, one of the keys to your success has been the team's offensive consistency. Could you talk a little bit about how that's come across?
Sure. I think other teams really can't focus on one player. We've got a lot of players that have contributed. You never know who's going to have a breakout game. And then you throw on top of that, a lot of our cutters downfield, they have a really high completion percentage and a high efficiency rating. So not only do we not turn the disc over, but everybody contributes highly.
And what sort of things should we expect to see from the Spinners early on in this game today?
We're going to spread the wealth around a little bit. We're going to have a couple of extra cutters to give us a little bit of relief later in the game. Kind of like the last game we played New York. The second half we came out with more focus and we had better legs. And then we realized it's a little windy out here, so the game might be ugly. We're ready to kind of make every play, even if the first play is not made.
All right. Thanks for your time, and good luck out there today.
Thank you very much. We'll see you guys later.
All right, good luck to Trey Katzenbach. Let's take a look at the starting lineups here tonight. First for the visiting New York Rumble, their O-line will be led out there by Joe Anderson, number 41, Ben Faust. You take a look, that's number 4, Michael Hennessy, number 1, Markian Kosmowitz, number 44, Robbie Gillies, number 26, Andrew Bosco, and number 31, John Wodach. On the defensive side of things, it will be number 11, Scott Zhu, number 2, Andrew Hollingworth, number 6, Chris Mazer, number 42, Alon Brown, number 37, Chris Gwinner, number 45, Brenton Hart, and number 7, Clark Kofer, who had the Callahan against Boston 1 week ago. And for the Spinners, who call Villanova home tonight, and no surprises here, it's number 7, Nick Hiernat, number 27, Jake Rainwater, number 14, Matt Glazer, number 18, Billy Sickles, number 33, Marshall Ward, number 25, you just saw him, Trey Katzenbach, and number 23, Ben Sheridan. On the defensive side, number 3, Gabe Colton, number 8, Nick Perifico, number 20, you see him there, Dave Bear, 6, Leon Chow, Charlie McCutcheon, Patrick Lindsay, Matt Esser are numbers 1, 31, and 11, respectively. We will step away one more time here when we come back, the start of the first quarter here at Villanova Stadium. Welcome back to Villanova Stadium, Philadelphia, getting set to pull here to start the first quarter in Week 7. It's the 1-4 New York Rumble against the 4-1 Philadelphia Spinners. New York desperately needing a win to cling on to what is already becoming dire playoff hopes for them. Philadelphia looking to keep things in cruise control and stay easily on top of the Eastern Conference. Boston and DC both off this week, so the conference will be evened up. Everyone will have 6 games under their belt. Those two teams right now tied at 3-3. So while this game might not directly impact the playoff hunt for the 3 that are involved in it, it still can carry some weight going forward through the remaining weeks of the season.
Yeah, picking up wins is very important for Philadelphia at every point. If they have a stumble later in the season against any of these teams, banking a win this week against New York, a team that everyone is expecting them to beat, makes a difference later on.
Michael Panna pulling for the Spinners, who will be in their blue jerseys with the red shorts, and receiving is Bosco, sending it over to Hennessy. New York in their green jerseys with the black numbers and trim will move left to right across your screen. We talked about it before the game. This is the definition of a trap game potentially for Philadelphia, as New York airs this one down quickly, looking for Wodach. Coming over is Kuzmowicz, kind of a bailout catch, looking for Gillies.
So good job on his part to chase that down, give the second effort, and Bosco delivers the goal there to Gillies.
Nice quick score for the Rumble as Bosco connects with Gillies.
And we saw that the first sort of break of the game went New York's way as that disc hopped up in the air on the wind, and they stuck with it and eventually scored the goal here on the throw.
Good look at Robbie Gillies as New York last week at home against Boston struggled mightily, as did the Whitecaps in that first quarter. Ended 1-0. You saw that just sail over Wodach's head, and Kuzmowicz with the bailout, and then Gillies right there for the score.
Yeah, and Bosco delivers that disc high to the outside shoulder so that even if the defender was there, wouldn't have been able to make a play on it. Philly came out in sort of a matchup zone there. They weren't going to stick in a zone very long, but it looked like they had scouted out exactly what New York was going to do on the pull play there with sort of a side stack look.
A shot of Chris Mazer actually starting this game out on defense and pulling. Pretty good pull.
Oh, we certainly got an arm on him. I like it when these guys get the deep pulls in.
Very backed up into the end zone was Ian McKellen. And they swing it out to Nick Harnett, finds Trey Katzenbach. Jake Rainwater, he was the player of the game in the first place deciding win against DC for the Spinners a week ago, as Billy Sickles draws some contact and will take this one up 10 yards.
Defender sort of reached through the disc there after the catch was made, slowed down the offense. It's a good break.
Up to Glazer. Excuse me, I believe that was Sheridan.
A lot of steps there from Glazer, but apparently not too much to be a travel.
McClellan quickly trying to cut right back. He's still on the move, right up the line.
Sickles got away with that throw. That shouldn't have been completed.
They get it back to Sickles, looking for Harnett to swing it back towards midfield. He grabs it. Out to McClellan. McClellan very involved and active here early.
Philadelphia's kind of moving with the disc right now, so when they're swinging the disc back across, their downfield players are just wiping across the field with them. That makes it difficult to get open. You need to move counter to the disc.
Ian gets it back from Harnett. Philadelphia a little more patient here. McClellan now sends it out looking for Katzenbach in the end zone, and he's got it for the score as he ties it up at 1.
Excellent patience there on the whole from Philadelphia. They didn't rush anything once they got down here near the end zone, and they just waited until McClellan found a throw that he liked, where it looked like Mazer was sort of committing too much to the under here, and then McClellan pinned him to the back of the end zone by getting that throw up, out, and around to Katzenbach.
Katzenbach did a good jump to beat his man to that spot. We talked about this a little bit before. Philadelphia, not a quick-moving team with the disc. Do you think that is an advantage to them in some ways, that with the clock in the game, they eat a lot of time?
They do, and the thing with them is that they don't rush down the field too frequently, and that can either lead them to a situation where they're fully in control of the point, or it can get out of hand quickly where they sort of aimlessly move the disc around. If you throw enough throws, eventually one of them will be incomplete. You need to throw with purpose to counteract that.
Well, let's see what their defense can throw out there as Dave Bear sends this pull down. Bosco lets it hit the ground, roll a step or two behind him, and push this up to Hennessy.
like to see him catch that pull so that they can get their offense started on time.
Now New York wasting no time. Ben Faust looking out for Anderson, and Joe Anderson can't catch up to that one. So Philadelphia with their first chance of a break.
It needed to be thrown a little higher as opposed to fast. He wasn't throwing to the fastest player on the field, but he was throwing to one of the tallest players on the field. He's got to edit that throw and let it sit out in front of Anderson for that to be a goal.
Gabe Colton trying to create some space, get that disc from Bear. He does. Colton, the unfortunate victim of on the wrong end, I should say, of the Callahan by Delrico Johnson. And this one is D'd up nicely by New York.
There was a good off-point block there from Anderson. He was heads up right in front of the thrower and just got his arms up into the throwing path.
Hennessy's going to take his time. He sets up right on the goal line. Just trying to toss this one in. Shakes off Zhu. Looking to send it over to Bosco, and Bosco fakes back and then goes into the end zone for the score.
That's a quick goal and assist for Bosco. He's starting off this game pretty well, and it looks like New York is going to be able to keep pace early on with the Spinners at least.
7:15 left to go as Bosco scores this one. You take a look. There's the D. Nicely done. We just talked about how Anderson's one of the tallest guys on the field for New York and just using his length to D that one up.
And the awareness there to be looking back at the thrower, even with just one eye or out of the corner of your eye, it makes that a possible block.
Sun's still very much high in the sky as you see the New York line trying to battle it a little bit. The lights are on here at Villanova Stadium in anticipation for the sun setting, and we'll see the shadows start to creep over onto the field as New York pulls.
It'll be interesting to see if we ever get to receive a pull down at that end zone. It'll be a little more difficult to field. Even though that's the second consecutive pull up in this direction that the receiving team has failed to field on time.
Yeah, Katzenbach not catching this one as Haranet sends it out to Rainwater. Finds Sheridan. Sheridan and Rainwater have had some chemistry moving the disc up the field all season long. This one floats, but Rainwater's there to bail it out. Now Jake looking for Nick Haranet, cutting deep, and Nick's got it in for a score as these two teams go back and forth.
And it looks like at this point they're even on the sort of plays of chance where the throw didn't go to the intended receiver and it was collected anyway.
Take a look again. Ward has it here. Throws it up. It's right over Glazer's hand, and then Jake Rainwater reads it nicely and gets the assist.
One of the actual advantages to having a play like that is that the defense gets caught off timing. So they were expecting that pass to either be incomplete or to already be caught. So they may have lightened up a little bit trying to cover Haranet downfield. He's usually coming back to the disc there. Rainwater saw him immediately and delivered a perfect pass out in front.
I don't see Nick too much in the end zone. He's usually the one throwing them.
Well, not until they get tight to the end zone, and then they'll use him on those up-line cuts, and they'll use his quickness as sort of an isolation when they get an opportunity to. But you're right, he's much more frequently behind the disc. That's a good place. He controls the offense from back there.
Exactly. The key cog in the Philadelphia offense is Pana, and this time we do see Bosco catch that pull. Hennessy finds Wodach. Wodach trying to recover from a tough game a week ago against Boston. That was a tough game for everybody, though.
Yes.
Not a pretty one.
Those of us watching and not.
Here's Wodach, gets it back. Looking downfield, that's D'd up by Philadelphia. Tom O'Connor gets a hand on it. Now Leon Chow, far side. Matt Esser, back from missing last week's game.
Philadelphia's a little out of sync here, yeah.
And then Michael Hennessy gets a hand on this one. Doesn't allow Pana the catch. So New York with another opportunity to punch this one in.
The Philadelphia players on offense there were being very stagnant and left their thrower with the only opportunity was a contested dump pass, and they ended up with the one of the worst turns in Ultimate, throwing backwards.
Nice grab for New York, sends it right back to Hennessy.
It's New York's turn to have not quite enough cuts. And again, they came out on top with that one with the catch there from Bosco, but the rest of their offense is letting the handlers down right now.
Wodach has it, looking for Hennessy, gets it back to him. Hennessy and Wodach. Little just give and go. This one, a little too much. Hennessy, though, gets it in the wind, tracks it down. This one's floated up, and Sean Murray can't read it, and it falls to the ground.
He fell just short of the miraculous there on the catch. Philadelphia's coming out in a horizontal here. They're sending an early cutter up line from the handler spot, but there's no continuation for him at all.
Yan Chow airing this one out, looking.
I'm not even sure who he was looking
I
for
thought
there.
maybe O'Connor at first, but then it floated way to his right.
Yeah. It's just a lack of offensive clarity there.
Yes.
One of these teams is bound to clean it up before it's over, right?
Well, we got 4:44 left to go here in the first quarter. It's 2-2. And New York has the disc. You start things off much farther away.
Yeah, they're taking their time, getting their breath started here. They've got a play called here, and they had Wodach open deep.
Shake him off to swing it out to Bosco. New York trying to take advantage of both sides of the field. Go up to Sean Murray. There's a whistle
Pick downfield.
against New York. I'll go back to Bosco then. He's going to have to go all the way back to that 20-yard line here. A couple even farther back, right about the 18.
Yeah, could have used a little more clear signal from the ref there as to where he needed to put that disc in.
Bosco, dangerous throw, backfield to Joe Anderson. He'll swing it out. Hennessy on the far side. Kosmowitz had Gillies on the sideline, and Bosco bobbles this one. Mike Bear will pick it
We've
up
got a
for
streaker
Philadelphia.
here. Okay. Still open downfield for Philly.
Esser finds Pana. Pana double team, trying to get this one out, and we have some contact.
He's
against
asking for that call. And the refs have obliged him.
Not what you want to do, so that'll put Pana right on the line, and he sends it into Mike Bear. Easy score for the Spinners.
Eventually, after they did enough work to maintain the disc and the possession there and get it back from New York a number of times, it was, in the end, an easy score. What happened here on that up-line cut from Bear was that the defender was caught flat-footed, caught sleeping here a little bit once the disc was checked back in.
There's a good D from O'Connor.
And then another nice D from Hennessy there. A lot of these have been reset Ds.
And this one just, Sean Murray had a catch very similar to like that one. Well, that was non-catch. 2 years ago when he was playing for Philadelphia.
And on that last cut there, you saw that Wodach was kind of asleep at the wheel as that primary reset defender. He has to be the most aggressive defender, the most ready defender on the field, because that cut that Bayer just made to cut up line and get the goal is really easy if your defender is not all over you.
So 3-2, the score. Philadelphia on top of New York. That's their first break of the game. 3:17 left to go. And I believe we have, looks like it should be,
Refs are still discussing this a little bit.
delay of game against New York.
Well, we'll get another repull here in a moment.
Dave Bear will be pulling. He's still fairly short and out of bounds, so even with the repull.
Yeah, with the extra yardage, they still didn't manage to throw that on the field. But that just means that New York will get a start from the center of the field. The delay of game didn't turn out to hurt them too much. And it looks like they'll be coming out of a vertical stack here with one man behind the disc, 5 in front, and looks like Faust will be the first cut.
Mazer starting things off has Bear and Perifico on him. He gets it out to Faust. Faust quickly up. Nice grab.
Both teams are throwing a lot of those inside throws to the handler cutting up line. It's a small window, but if you complete the pass, it reaps rewards downfield.
Alaro has it. They get it over to Wykus. Nice grab there by Hollingworth, looking downfield into the end zone. The layout bit is there, but they can't come up with the catch.
It's a fantastic effort for a disc that was trailing away from him there. The only chance that he had to get that was to go high and go early. He gave it full effort, but sometimes you can't make all the catches you want to.
Jacob Price with the bid. Philly will get it back. You see Billy Maroon on the sidelines. Trying to outcoach Anthony Nunez tonight.
Looked like there was a bit of a defensive foul there on the upline cut. It looked like he just got hit in the back by a defender there.
No call. Pat Deviney can't make the catch on the sideline. Trails out of bounds. New York will get it back. Decent field position, looking to put it into Alaro, and they've got it.
Once the turn happened, it was just a matter of finding the open player for New York.
3-3 the score now as New York ties it up. And we will take another look at this one.
Yep. It's just a matter of getting around that mark. The mark committed to attempting to get the block before the Philadelphia player had it. And as a result, he was out of position and allowed that inside break to come off pretty easily to get the goal there for New York.
Alarcon actually with the score. My mistake. Alaro actually listed as questionable coming into this game. As New York actually without quite a few notable bodies. Vukovic out, Hunziker, Kocher, Brownlee, McGugan. Guys who were very active, especially last week against Boston, inactive tonight against Philadelphia. So some work for Anthony Nunez and his staff to try and overcome that.
Yeah, they've been shifting their lineups around a little bit. You can see with Mazur on defense and Anderson on offense, for example.
Himalaya Meta with his first catch as Philadelphia goes back on offense. And back out Marshall Ward. Meta gets it right back.
Still working out of a spread here for Philadelphia. Some nice, effective horizontal cuts, although that drop there is just an execution error, it looked like.
Sickles with the drop. So New York, a chance to get the lead back. Swing it back around.
New York's working out of a vertical, but they're making these cross-field cuts that are cutting off the space behind them right now and throwing to them anyway. An incompletion there on a poor throw.
Brenton Hard, the intended receiver, but it was thrown a little bit too high, too, from where he was.
Yep.
He was wide open. Hiernet launches one downfield looking for Rainwater. He's got one man to beat, and Jake Rainwater goes up in skies for the catch and the score.
One thing that Rainwater did there was to establish body position. As Alarcon was tracking him down, he didn't really get up to speed to get high enough to completely get over Rainwater, and Rainwater established body contact, made enough space for him to catch the disc there, and came down with it.
Jake Rainwater has been such a difference maker for the Spinners this season. So you see, that was the drop by Sickles, and then just, this should have been easy catch.
That's good. Let him go. We'll come back to tip.
And this was an easy catch that really shouldn't have been. That throw was a little less than perfect, but as we see here, he's got the space and he maintains the leverage over his defender.
Rainwater with a little bit more size on Alarcon, but still a pretty good matchup.
Alarcon's definitely got the athleticism and speed to get there. Rainwater's got a little bit more experience. He's a little bit broader, a little bit tougher to get around. But I'd like to see that matchup as we go through here.
Michael Pana once again pulling with Philadelphia up 4-3. 1:03 left to go here in the first quarter at Villanova Stadium. Hennessy will start things off. Hennessy has pretty much been New York's #1 handler here tonight, at least so far.
Yeah, he's taking the place of Mazur, who, as we mentioned earlier, is playing on the D-line a little bit more.
Cosmo finds Bosco on the upline cut. Bosco keeps it on that sideline, gets it up to Gillies. Gillies trying to get around his man. Nice grab by Hennessy, one-handed. They go low for that. Swings it out to Anderson. Continuing, looking for Wodach. A good layout D from Philly. They didn't need it because Wodach was never going to catch up to that one.
Yeah, Anderson went for, instead of just the simple swing pass there, he went for a little bit more, went for the goal. And there was space over there, but the receiver didn't know that that's where he needed to be cutting yet until the throw went up. It's a little bit of an offensive error, but they did create a goal-scoring opportunity. Now they have to play defense for 3 more seconds here.
Esser rips one downfield, looking for a man, and it's D'd up by New York. They had 3 guys over there. Kosmowitz ends up catching it, and that's the way the first quarter will come to an end with Philadelphia on top 4-3 here at Villanova Stadium.
kind, my dear. Such a good find, it's clear that you were made for me. We could be believably so carefree, for all the world to see that you were made for me.
Innova is proud to support Major League Ultimate and its incredible athletes. As the official disc of the MLU, the Innova Pulsar has quickly become the disc of choice at Ultimate's highest level. Visit innovadiscs.com to find a dealer near you. Wear the same Ultimate gloves as the pros. Friction gloves help your throws and catches in all conditions. To find out more information and to get a pair, visit frictiongloves.com. 4-3 game here at Villanova Stadium as we get set to start the second quarter. Jeff Poster alongside Dusty Rhodes for our MLU Live Week 7 Game of the Week.
Yeah, and the Rumble there missed a chance at the end of the first quarter to score to tie it up at 4s. They had 1:03 on the clock when they received the disc, and we saw the shot that Anderson put up. But what they really needed to do was generate an opportunity for this to be 4-4 going into the second quarter. That's a chance that they won't get back later on in the game. And if it's a one-point game, you look back to the first quarter, you have a minute to score. If you gave every team in the league that opportunity, they'd say, yes, we can certainly score here.
Is New York their own worst enemy sometimes?
Well, that's in a lot of ways, yes, but that's true of every Ultimate team.
Okay.
In the same way that we mentioned tennis a little bit earlier, it's the same thing when you watch tennis. It's the same thing when you watch golf. It's a game of errors as opposed to a game of always surprising plays. Usually the team that wins is the team that makes the fewest mistakes. And as such, sometimes we end up talking about the negatives all the time when we're up here, but it's kind of difficult to avoid a game-changing drop, a throw that is, a couple inches off and doesn't let the receiver then transition to throwing quickly. Those are the sorts of things that change games.
And we've seen mental play into the effect of a game. Last week, Philadelphia gave up quite a huge play to DC's Delrico Johnson at a massive Callahan for a score, and we're able to overcome that.
And we saw the same thing in the New York game,
exactly.
too. Yeah.
They got the Callahan. Boston came away with the win.
And both of those are mistakes on the offense's part. They let those discs hang up in areas where defenders can make a play on them. But the ability to come back from that, as we've been talking about, is the other side of this mental game. You make mistakes, and since you know that it is a game of mistakes, you have to be prepared for that. It's more about how you respond to them than removing them from your experience.
So Philadelphia will get the disc back, already up 4-3, and we'll start the second quarter on offense. The Rumble still battling the sun from that end of the field. The other end where Philadelphia is lined up, almost completely engulfed in shadows. And New York will look to get their defense going as Lon Brown pulls for the Rumble. And Katzenbach catches the pull. Cullen with a quick cut towards the middle of the field, gets the catch from Haranet. Sends it over to Dustin Damiano, first time we've seen him out there tonight.
Philly's working out of primarily a horizontal stack here.
Damiano got tripped up by Herman. No call, though.
Yeah, there was a lot of space on the far side there for Philadelphia to attack into.
Rainwater at midfield, sends it out to Katzenbach. Trey already with a goal in this one. Flicks it over to Glazer. Right back to Katzenbach. He's got Rainwater making the cut towards the end zone. Jake lets this one sail in a little bit farther, catches up to it, and scores. 5-3, Philadelphia now with a 2-goal lead. And back-to-back scores for Rainwater.
Back-to-back scores for Philadelphia as well.
Right.
We missed that New York goal in the middle here, and you can see Katzenbach throws up the nice soft away pass to Rainwater there. Brown was covering him underneath, lost track of where the disc was, and Katzenbach was able to put that throw up before Brown could make a play. And now, again, it's the sort of thing that we almost have to talk about every week, is where you get that chance to score the last goal in a quarter, you have to convert on it, or the other team, as we saw here, can take a 2-point advantage out of a 1 playing 2 consecutive 0 points.
And we've seen how much, too, a momentum swing can shift from quarter to quarter, and either from half to half, too. I think a big part of Philadelphia's ability to win that game last weekend was stealing the momentum at the end of the second quarter. Leon Chow had a big defensive block, and they were able to come out and attack DC right away. So let's see what New York can do. Down 2 now with 9:10 left to go in the first half.
It's a good cut across the field there by Gillies. There was a lot of space opened up.
Wodach with the sky over Perifico.
That's a good matchup to watch. That's a lot of speed there on Perifico and for Modach. And you can see the athleticism on display as he makes that catch that really shouldn't have been made.
Bosco continues to swing it out. Kuzmowicz has it near midfield.
It's that inside break again. Both teams are relying on it a lot right now.
Bosco trying to get around Bear. Dumps it back. Hennessy taking his time, sends a blade up to Anderson. He rips it down into Gillies, and then Kuzmowicz, or Hennessy rather, comes up with it for the score. So New York pushes it slowly up the field. They had a couple of really nice grabs that could have otherwise been drops and come away. Now it's 5-4.
At the same time, both of these teams came out for the first point in this quarter with good patience on their offense. New York had a couple tough catches, but they weren't forcing anything on offense. It was just an error there on execution that he then chased down and made this incredible sky.
Nice grab, too, by Wodach. And then you see Gillies was just about a yard short, and then a little give and go. Hennessy with the dance after.
He's got rhythm, you know. Got to show it off. He, again, that's another up-line cut where the defender was caught asleep. He may have taken off before the pass was even completed to Gillies, trusting a little bit more that his teammate was going to catch it compared to the defender. But what he did is he caught Dave Bayer asleep there, the same way Dave Bayer caught one of the New York defenders asleep a minute ago.
Mazer again pulling. Katzenbach reels it in. Looking to get it to Haranet. You swing it. There's Sickles. Sickles going to launch one down for Meta. Is he going to be able to catch up? Will it hang up? And it does. Kept that one just up enough in the wind. And Himalaya Meta comes down with the score. He seems pretty pumped up about it, too.
This was all Billy Sickles' point. He got that undercut, and when he saw this cut from Meta, he put it out in front of him. Wasn't a chance for the defense again. We talk about this all the time. When you put a perfect throw up, the defense doesn't matter. There's no way for them to get there. With the path that he took with the outside-in backhand there, the ability of a lefty to put that out softly as opposed to a righty flick, makes it a little bit easier, but you'd expect any player who had that much space and that opening receiver to make a goal happen there.
Himalaya Meta listed at 6 feet out of University of Pennsylvania.
And we thought at first that he may have had to lay out for that, but
Those long legs, those big strides.
Put on the speed and caught up to it.
And it got just enough of the wind underneath it to keep it up in the air.
You're coming out of a 5-person horizontal stack here.
Bosco and Hennessy, the two men back. Faust now back as well.
Getting some good motion right now, but they're consistently looking to a place where the open player isn't. They're looking to the covered players.
Anderson sends it back to Faust. So now both Hennessy and Bosco have trailed off.
And now they're starting to make the same cut to the same spot.
Awkward throw has to be put up with a high stall count. It's D'd up by Philadelphia, and they look to push this to a 3-goal lead. Mike Baer.
Yeah, he's...
Esser gets it right back, sends it to Baer.
There's no pressure on Philadelphia right now. New York is still scrambling on defense to catch up.
Pana with a sliding grab. Baer has it back. Philadelphia's D-line moving very quickly.
The best thing they can do here is just possess it.
Pana gets it back. And Baer again. Basically the same play, but on the opposite side of the field. Pana and Baer. As the D-line for Philadelphia gets another break and has a 3-goal lead, 7-4.
Yeah, the turnover there was surprising to say the least. Faust just held the disc long enough and waited for someone to be open that never materialized. And you can see there he was probably calling out the name of the player he was throwing it near.
He just kind of had to put it up at that point.
Yep.
Rather throw it and see what happens and take the stall as Mike Baer capitalizes once again from Pana.
So that aggressive upline motion near the end zone is almost impossible to stop, no matter how well you're trying to play defense, and they were trying in that situation. They hadn't fallen asleep, as we had talked about a couple other times. It's just difficult because just 1 inch forward, and it's going to be a goal.
Well, Brother Dave now will pull.
And now we're seeing Mazur back in on offense. New York seems to be showing a little bit of fear here with this game possibly getting out of hand.
Second time we've seen a pull from Philadelphia go out of bounds. Just enough this time, and Mazur will once again take it to that brick mark. Start things off.
It actually looks like it's mostly defensive players out here for New York right now.
And that one's D'd up right away.
The only fortunate thing is the D team expects to play defense, so they might be a little bit excited about this right now. They might be ready to play at least.
Is that the right way to put that?
Well, defenders are a different sort of thinking human.
Gabe Colton and Alarcon able to get over there and get it right back, so maybe you were right.
You don't necessarily want to give the disc to them, but one of the reasons in a game where you are giving the disc to the opponent that you put the D-line out there is so that they can get the disc back. It looks like Davini is coming off the field here with an injury. It seemed to be away from the play. I'm not sure exactly when it happened. We'll get the reset here from the officials in a moment.
Favoring that right leg. Keep an eye on him, see if he able to come back this one as he heads over to the trainer's table. Joe Anderson checks in for New York.
New York working out of a vertical here.
Mazur gets it up to Herman. Right back to Mazur.
Creating some space there for himself as a thrower, but there aren't many options right now for New York.
He finds Hollingworth. Gets it back to Mazur.
It's a nice catch there by Mazur. That disc just kind of stuck in his hand. It wasn't a very good throw.
New York, Hollingworth, Alarcon.
The downfield cuts are just not at the right times right now.
Well, Mazur looking for Alarcon. He's not going to have a chance on this one. Ends up basically being a punt.
Again, yes, you get the distance there. They can't take that away from you. Mazur just got a little too excited about that throw. He put too much power behind it. There was no chance that anyone on the field would have caught up to that specific execution. But that's a throw that we expect Mazur to take and usually convert on.
So Philadelphia taking their time. Now Dave Bear brings it in. He's trying to get it to Colton. He does.
Some good defensive positioning here from New York.
Colton finds Perifico. Perifico still sporting the very bright reddish pink hair.
Very red.
See
yes.
if he goes back. Was bleach blonde earlier. So.
Well, that's how you get the color in.
As Bear airs one out, looking downfield, and Philadelphia, Matt Paparone with the score as the Spinners are starting to run away with this one, and we're only in the first half.
We'll be talking about another Bear here as he unleashes a nice throw. First, we'll see the D. And this should be the Alarcon D. Yeah, it was good positioning on his part.
Hollingworth almost got over and in front of that. He got it off just in time, and Paparone tracks it down.
Yeah, he got to Bear got to throw that in motion, and Hollingworth was sort of expecting it, but he wasn't able to get sufficiently far over to affect the throw in any meaningful way.
Timeout called. It's 8-4. We'll step away and take it too. 5:06 left to go here in the first half.
You are just one of a kind, my dear. Such a good find, it's clear that you were made for me. We could be believably so carefree, for all the world to see that you were made for me.
Can Jam, proud sponsor of the MLU in 2015. Can Jam is a fast-paced disc game perfect for the backyard, tailgating, or warming up for Ultimate. Get Can Jam today at the team store or online at canjam.com. Use bonus code ULTIMATE for 10% off your purchase. Skippy, the official peanut butter of the MLU, made with the funnest peanuts ever. Skippy, yippee!
Yes. That is the
Yippee.
exciting peanut butter. And they're here every week talking about it. Yeah, the fun peanuts. I don't know. Do they breed them? Is it the selection process? Is there a vetting that goes on? I need to know more. Perhaps I should send in a letter.
We need some Skippy research done ASAP.
If I handwrite it, it'll be more difficult for them to ignore it, right? Send it in a real envelope.
Potentially, yeah.
They can't get that much mail these days. It's happening. I'll let you know on the results in the future.
You heard it here first, folks.
We'll report back.
Dusty Rhodes is on the case with Skippy Peanut Butter.
Well, I'm not trying to expose anything. I'm just curious. I want to know how they know. Is it the peanuts with the 3 peas in the pod? Because they look a little odder, you know.
Yes, that's true. You could call them fun. It's 8-4 here at Villanova Stadium as New York trying to figure something out. They were the ones who called timeout. So Philadelphia will not be pulling from midfield. With 5:06 left to go, the Rumble needs some sort of momentum. You saw them huddled up there nicely, but
And the thing here is they've got 7 guys on the line, and 4 of them have their hands on their knees. It's not a good sign for their ability to get back in this game or their ability to be fit for the hard-charging Philadelphia team. It's getting down in this pull pretty well.
you see Mike Baer with the hard push downfield.
It's nice to put just a little bit of pressure on that very first throw, even if the thrower knows that he's not going to throw into the turnover.
Bosco has it back.
Kuzmowicz is just getting open downfield and then not giving it to him.
He gets it that time.
He's doing a ton of work right now.
He needs to be rewarded for it. Looks one a little bit too high for Anderson, and I believe Leon Chow gets the catch D.
There's a decent amount of space here for Philadelphia to work. Again,
There's a lot of contact right there. Just momentum carrying Kuzmowicz into Philadelphia.
yeah, it looks like he'll get a ban for that. It's a little less dangerous than some of the other plays that we see where players are rolling up on other players' legs, but there was a lot of contact there, and you want to discourage that sort of play.
Jack Casey on the wrong end of that one, but gets the 10-yard benefit, and Kuzmowicz.
Now, with the ban, it'll actually be a 20-yard, so he'll be all the way up on the end zone here.
That's right. You see it again. I think he'll take that tackle and take the 20 yards. And there you go. Philadelphia in for the score once again. They waste no time.
After the Kuzmowicz turnover there, that was a little rough for the New York defense. They set up down here. They knew the disc was coming all the way across the field as we see the swing pass coming here. And it almost looked like they were unprepared to defend the other side of the field. Considering that's part of the MO of Philadelphia's offense, New York has to be a little bit more aware and commit to playing both sides.
Rob Robinson connecting with Esser. I think Robinson might have just already been in anyway. So that makes it 9-4 with 3:48 left to go in the first half. Philadelphia, as I said, already starting to run away with this one, and there's still an entire second half left.
Well, they're doubling them up right now, a little more than that at 9-4. You don't usually expect to see that continue through the second half. That would put us up at 18-8, somewhere around there. It doesn't seem like the way it's going to happen. You expect New York to make a run at some point, but will it be after it's already too late? Will it be once Philadelphia has put this game behind them?
Right now, they're already being outscored 5-1 in this second quarter as Dave Bear pulls once again. Looks like he'll keep this one in bounds.
New York will be coming out of a side stack here.
Is it Tennessee? Kuzmowicz.
And that's the thing. It looked like they were calling the play to go over to that side, but there was no continuation. It's the start of an offense, but it doesn't all fit together in parts.
Faust wanted to send a huck downfield. Holsters it a bit. Kuzmowicz gets it and dumps it back to Faust. Now we have a whistle.
Should be a pick call here. There was a New York player cutting deep in the lane. Mazur was cutting deep, and he ran directly off of another New York player cutting in that same lane. That's what we're talking about when we talk about offensive confusion. They don't know entirely what they're doing.
Kuzmowicz gets it back to Mazur. We've seen Mazur out on offense, but we haven't seen him really with this group.
Yeah, it's mostly players he's familiar with, though, so it shouldn't be. Woo.
Hennessy takes a tumble on the sideline. Now a foul is called. Hennessy's slow to get up.
Yeah, sometimes when you slide off the field like that, it can be rough if you catch a little bit of the turf or the way the field changes once you get off.
A track right here at Villanova Stadium. There is a little metal grate, too, between the field and the track.
Looks like he's all right, though.
Might have hit that. He took the contact from Charlie McCutcheon. He gets it back and gets the yards. Trying to find Mazer. He gets it to him. Hollingworth was open downfield. Mazer couldn't get it to him. Instead gets it back to Hennessy. They swing it. Kuzmowicz. He's got Mazer's wide open. This one floating, though. Mazer tracks it down. No.
That's a band.
Perifico right there with him. You see it up close. Mazer is not happy.
Wouldn't be either. That's the way that you tear a ligament, do something to your ankle, do something to your knees. And it's a play that Perifico knows that he shouldn't really be making from that angle. He has a chance at the disc, but the resulting contact there, when you consider which direction both players are moving in, you can't take that chance.
No ban for Perifico.
Ready, count 2. Take camera 2. 2's up, 2's up.
Referees are still discussing here exactly where we're going to start or what we're going to do.
Take camera 1.
Oh, he gets giving it to Mazer to put on Perifico. Call a flagrant foul on the play.
Yeah, and it didn't seem malicious. It wasn't that. It's just the result of the play there. You can't have that.
Interesting to let the player apply that.
Yeah, it seemed an odd choice by his part. Maybe the two players are a little more friendly than the refs and the players are. You never know. We're putting some time back on the clock here. Went back up to about 2:20, it looks
20,
like.
yeah. Mazer right on the goal line, but on the far side of the field. Everybody seems to be okay, too, which is the most important thing. He sends it out to Kuzmowicz. You don't usually see more than one band, if any, in these games, and we have two tonight as New York and Hollingworth gets the score.
We got a catch block on Anderson there in the end zone. Weren't sure who that was, too. That's another instance of New York is doing some good things on offense, but they're doing the same thing to the same spot with multiple people, which makes it a subpar thing.
Mazer with the push pass to get around his man, and Hollingworth, like you said, might have cut off Anderson, but for New York, I think they're just happy to see the disc go into the end zone on the positive side.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where if your coach or one of your teammates asks you what happened there, it's just a goal. That's what happened there.
Well, it's a goal, but it's a timeout now. We'll step away with 2:09 left to go here at Villanova Stadium. Welcome back to Villanova Stadium. With 2:09 left to go in the first half, we take a look inside the Philadelphia huddle. New York used their final timeout of this first half, so we'll get that midfield pull.
Looked like one of the Philadelphia coaches was standing in the bouncer pose there in the back of the huddle as Coach Maroon was explaining something, making sure that everyone stays in line. Nobody's inserting themselves into the huddle who shouldn't be there.
Saw the New York huddle, Joe Anderson and assistant coach Eileen Murray taking charge. Anderson has been here all 3 years with the Rumble in the MLU, as has Chris Mazer. Mentioned he was the MVP of the inaugural season in 2013.
I think he scored 52 points that season.
He had a lot.
With assists and goals together.
He had a lot.
It's an incredible number.
It's New York, that first year came down to the final week, almost made the playoffs. It's between them and the DC Current.
It's a fantastic game down there in Virginia. They played that one. It's a lot of back and forth. It came down to the last play. There were a lot of game-saving plays on DC's part. That's when we first sort of saw the flash from what DC was capable of, which came to fruition in the next season, a.k.a. last season. I'm losing my sense of tense there in the English language for the moment.
And you're a writer.
I try to be. Well, I guess once you do it, you are it on some level. I guess I shouldn't say I'm trying. So New York will be coming out from the half-field pull here. And Philadelphia is, again, doing the smart thing. Most teams are doing this at this point, where they spread all of their players out across the end zone so they can get this disc into play quickly. And again, as a reminder, if you call a timeout just after you score, you get to pull from midfield. And it puts a lot of pressure on the offense so long as you can get a good pull in.
Let's see what Mazur can do. He tries to spin this one down, and he sends it out of bounds. We've seen very mixed results over the Eastern Conference here with teams' ability to nail down that midfield pull.
Well, it's one thing to work on it in practice, and then it's another thing to execute it in the game. So in the practice, they're probably putting those exactly where they need to be, but in the game, you tense up. In that situation, he tried to overthrow that. He put too much power on it, tilted his wrist as he put that blade out, and just overthrew it to this close sideline.
So Philadelphia with good field position will start things off. That's Glazer on the far side.
It's got good spacing. The timing's a little off right now, but you can sense that they're confident.
We haven't seen Philadelphia's starting O-line in a while with all the breaks they've got. As McClellan sends a backhand out to Hiranet, and it's D'd up nicely by New York, but Hiranet has a second chance at it. He can't. No, he got 1 foot down and stayed in bounds. What a catch and what a rundown by Nick Hiranet.
It's a fantastic block to come across there, but we saw this last weekend where a defensive player taps the disc up into the air, and the offensive player stays focused, and he takes off as soon as that disc is tapped. He knows where the disc is going, chases it down, and gets that trailing foot right in bounds.
See him plant that left foot, kept the toe on the ground as long as he possibly could to make that catch, and he did it. That's a veteran move. A guy who knows what the rule book is and how to make a score happen. So that makes it 10-5 with 1:38 left to go here in the first half. As Philadelphia calls timeout, we'll step away again too. 10-5, Spinners on top of the Rumble. Do you have an athletic event, team trip, or corporate outing coming up? If so, charter a private bus, minibus, or party bus from U.S. Coachways. Bus travel is one of the safest, greenest, and most affordable ways to get your group to an event. If you're going with a group, trust U.S. Coachways. That's what we do. Go to discstore.com to purchase official merchandise of Major League Ultimate, game discs, apparel, accessories, and more. Discstore.com is the world's premier supplier of Ultimate Frisbee products and the official store of the MLU. Discstore.com, that's discstore.com. Take a look again at this throw by McClellan, and just a great job by Nick Hiranet to just stick with it. And you see that toe on his left foot, just held it down on the ground long enough.
2 lessons to take away. One is work on your footwork if you're an aspiring player, and the second is don't give up on the play. If Hiranet had paused just for a moment to think about what he needed to do to get that disc, he wouldn't have gotten there in time. He knew instinctively where it had bounced off, sort of the angle that it was taking, and he was committed to getting there before the play even happened. Commitment is what it's all about. Commitment to the disc, commitment to completing passes.
I believe Hollingworth was the man for New York who got the hand on it. Did one thing you don't want to do in defense too, is tip the disc up in the air and give that player that second chance.
It's what every person who plays Ultimate tells you, catch your Ds.
So Philly does a nice job here at the midfield pull as they called timeout. Leon Chow was able to get it right in the back, nearly had a Callahan right there.
He was expecting that throw to come up and was just timing it, knowing that if he had a chance to get that block, it would have made a big difference.
And then Faust just throws it away.
I was going to say, on the other hand, they could just wait for New York to throw it to the ground. The ground is on the defense's team, as it turns out.
So Great field position here for Philadelphia. Can't ask for much better. As Gabe Colton will start things off and sends it out to his left, and it's caught and scored. Philadelphia adding insult to injury right now to the New York Rumble, and they lead 11-5.
And the way that score happened there is generally you'll see a thrower set up to throw to the top of the stack, and the person there will make sort of a bunch of jukes, and instead this time he just sprinted to the corner, and they put the pass out in front of him as if he was running away.
Philadelphia use their final timeout and pull from midfield. When we come back, it's 11-5, Philly on top of New York. Take a look again inside the New York huddle. Joe Anderson trying to will the troops into getting back into this game. He trailed by 6, 11-5 with 1:03 left to go. What can they do, Dusty, to close this gap, even though there's just a minute left here in the first half?
Well, the first thing that they need to do is score a point before half is out. It's that simple. They need to get to a point where they're not down by 6, they're only down by 5. That's less than half. At this point, it's all math. They just have to claw back on this step by step, and every opportunity that they're given, they need to take full advantage of it. Philadelphia it's very unlikely that they play a whole second half without turning the disc over. So when New York sees that opportunity, they have to seize that opportunity. In a sense, the only way that Philadelphia can lose this game is if they give it away. New York's ability to take it back, I'm not sure I believe in it. It's silly to say this before half, but this game looks over and feels over. The way that New York is playing right now is not showing a lot of commitment or purpose, and the way that Philadelphia is playing is that they're coming out here, pulling from midfield again to take this lead into half, extend it a little bit more, and they're just putting all the pressure that they can on the Rumble right now.
Philadelphia trying to flex their muscle as they sit atop the Eastern Conference standings. That's one loss so far. The DC Current. That was back in week 2.
And I thought that was going to be sort of the thing that defined the season was DC beating everybody the first time through, but the conference has adjusted, and they're at a point now where DC and Boston are in the center of the standings.
Another midfield pull.
It's good fielding there on New York's part.
New York able to catch this one and stop it from going all the way out the back. There's Zhu. And up to Patton. Some different faces out there for New York to start offensively, and they turn this one over. Threw it into a crowd because Mowitz was there, but a lot to ask against 3 defenders.
He wasn't particularly open, but he was in the vicinity.
Philly with plenty of time as Matt Esser reels one in from Leon Chow. And the Spinners with 12 goals to just New York's 5 before halftime.
This is the sort of performance that we're used to seeing from Boston and DC over the last 2 seasons. DC last year and Boston the first year. It's just where once it starts rolling downhill, they push harder. It's not a matter where they're letting up. It's where they're attacking even more because they figured out the weaknesses of New York.
Here's Zhu's put, and Esser actually got the D right there, so bookend plays for Matt Esser. He knows it.
Oh, to be able to do that so easily. Add a little icing on top of the cake of getting those bookends. That's nice.
And he'll stay out there with the rest of the Philadelphia D-line. Michael Panna getting ready to pull New York just with 35 seconds to now cut it to 6, which you had just said you want to get it at least to 5.
Now they're in a whole other way. They're down 7.
As Panna sends this pull down the field. Shadows pretty much have covered the entire field now as the sun sets here at Villanova Stadium. Mazer gets it back to Alarcon. He finds Faust. New York
You can tell New York's feeling the time a little bit, and they're rushing some of their throws, but they do be wise just to make sure they get this goal as opposed to worrying about how quickly they get this goal.
Anderson nearly traveled that time. He gets it to Faust and then gets it right back on a give and go. Here's Hennessy. Final 7 seconds. Faust gets it back. They're going to need to put this soon. He puts up a hammer. Looking to the opposite corner. Alarcon. Mike Bear gets a hand on it and D's it up nicely as time expires. Mike Bear with an impressive first half. 2 goals and then a nice D in the back of the end zone. As New York can't come up with it, and they trail by 7. Take a look again at the hammer from Faust.
Yeah, there really wasn't a lot of space there. It was about time for him to put that throw up somewhere. But again, it's just New York. They weren't all on the same page. They didn't know where that throw was going before he put it up.
We'll step away as we head into halftime. It's 12-5, Philadelphia on top of New York.
You are just one of a kind, my dear. Such a good find, it's clear that you were made for me. We could be believably so carefree, for all the world to see that you were made for me.
Welcome back to Villanova Stadium at halftime. It's 12-5, Philadelphia on top of New York. We have Chris Mazer down on field side.
Hey, Chris, Dusty Rhodes here. First of all, we saw you out there on defense a little bit. Sort of how does that change your game up in the way that you approach it?
It doesn't. We play Frisbee out here, Dusty.
Over the first half, how has it been? Has it been more up to what you guys have been doing on offense, or has it been resulting from what Philadelphia has been doing on defense?
I don't know, Dusty. How do you feel about the cheating that's happening on the field this season yourself? You think a lot of guys are cheating out here like last year?
I'm not entirely sure with that sort of thing. You guys are a little closer to it. You probably have a little more information for me, but we saw you get kind of tackled there at the end. Have you sort of survived that?
Yeah. How do you feel about all those bids, man? I mean, they've been pretty rough, throughout the season here. It's been pretty physical, a lot of late layouts on people. How do you feel about that? You going to write an article about it this year?
I already have. I wrote an article about that just this past week, and we saw 3 bans for dangerous plays from the refs this year, and we saw a couple today, and that's exactly what we should be doing. We should be controlling and protecting our players.
I completely agree with you.
So what should we expect to see in the second half from you guys? What are you guys going to be focusing on?
We're going to continue to play Frisbee, Dusty.
All right. Good luck with that. We'll see you in the second half.
Thanks.
12-5 the score here at halftime as we get something out of Chris Mazer, the Rumble trailing the Spinners. In a tough matchup, we'll step away here at halftime. Welcome back to Villanova Stadium. It's Luau night as the Spinners making their cross Philadelphia tour of different stadiums this season. This is the second one, is hosting Luau night. It's 12-5 the score here at halftime. It was an exciting first half as we take a look at some highlights, especially for the Philadelphia Spinners. New York having a tough time, and this is how it got started with Trey Katzenbach.
Oh, with a nice block there from Anderson. That's the sort of thing that you like to see still.
Well, Philadelphia, as Jake Rainwater was able to track that one down nicely and use some good positioning.
Slowed down before he attacked it. That's key.
The Spinners have just been all over here. There's another score from Rainwater. They were all over the Rumble early. This was a great bid, though. John Wodach sticking with the disc, which we talked about. Just sticking with it and
it's sort of
maintaining
emblematic of
position.
what's been going on with New York so far. They've been making good plays throughout the season, and it's just not resulting in wins for them at this point.
There's another. This was the great rundown by Meta. You couldn't even see him on your screen. He came out of nowhere for that one. Just a great, again, sticking with the play, running that one down.
And we keep seeing these clips where New York is committing to trying to do it, but they're just not up to the task today.
Well, they are missing some bodies and some of their key cogs, too. Some frustrations boiling over, clearly. Nick Heron at this one identifies it the most, though, with that left toe. That's impressive.
And it was great for him to keep that toe down the entire time until he made the catch. The timing is key there.
Matt Esser with bookends and a celebration. And that is really the mindset and the feeling of, I'm sure, the Philadelphia locker room right now as they lead 12-5 here at halftime. We'll step away and look back at last week's Plays of the Week.
You are just one of a kind, my dear. Such a good find, it's clear that you were made for me. We could be believably so carefree, for all the world to see that you were made for me.
Welcome back to Villanova Stadium at halftime, 12-5. The Spinners on top of the Rumble. As we take a look back, we saw some plays from this first half. Let's see some plays that were the plays of the week from Week 6 here in the MLU. First, the Catch of the Week sponsored by Friction Gloves. We head out west. This one actually another highlight for the MLU on SportsCenter on ESPN.
It's a great application from speed here when we see the play coming.
Cody Bjorklund, who we should mention, playing injured with the layout and using his injured hand to make that catch.
Usually he's on the other end of that. He's putting those throws up to Purston and a bunch of the other receivers they've got out there in Portland. But this was his highlight this time around.
That game, though, was San Francisco's highlight. As we take a look again, the Dogfish actually rallied in that one and were able to upset the Stags.
Yeah,
Here's
that was
the-
the first loss of the season.
That's right. Staying out west with the throw of the week from Innova.
As soon as I saw this one, I was hoping it was going to be the throw of the week.
He's had been fun to watch with these crazy throws as he gets the Scuba in for the score that time. The Scuba from Vancouver.
Just sat it up there. The defense couldn't figure out where it was going.
Here's the offensive play of the week as we head out to, this game was in New York. Boston on the road. As Matthew McDonald did a nice job bailing out Christian Foster. And that wasn't for a score. Take a look again.
I'm assuming he was calling for that from behind. Otherwise, how would they have known? It's good communication.
When I had read about it, when Boston put up, they said that that's what he wanted, and this was the highlight of highlights. I actually called this one when we said it, that this would be the defensive play of the week, and how could it not be? Delrico Johnson with the exciting Callahan.
And you can see him closing down that space before the cut was even really committed to by Philadelphia's offense. He's setting that up from the other side of the field.
Just beats Gabe Colton to the spot off the throw from Dave Bear. Colton with his arms up, but then Delrico Johnson with his arms up.
I think that's a pitch-perfect response from both of them.
They're both putting their arms up, but for two totally different reasons. So your plays of the week from Week 6. Who knows? Maybe we'll see some plays from this game this time next week. We'll take a break here again at halftime. It's 12-5, Philadelphia on top of New York.
You are just one of a kind, my dear. Such a good find, it's clear that you were made for me. We could be believably so carefree, for all the world to see that you were made for me.
Welcome back to Villanova Stadium at halftime. Jeff Poster alongside Dusty Rhodes for our MLU Live Game of the Week. Philadelphia Spinners hosting the New York Rumble. It's 12-5. Let's take a look back at our keys to the game that we previewed at the beginning of the game. New York, I don't know if they have taken these keys to heart, Dusty, as they trail by 7. Can they start to get back into this?
Well, converting isn't even the issue right now. They're not really getting blocks. Most of their blocks have been while they were on offense after they've given up the disc. As far as the drops are concerned, both teams have been dropping the disc. New York, I believe, has had maybe one or two more. As far as 4 whole quarters go, New York started the first quarter off pretty well, where they scored 3 goals, and they were only down by 1. But in the second quarter, they only managed to put 2 more on the board, and that was while Philadelphia was running off 8. I mean, whether you come out strong in the first quarter or not, if you have a second quarter like that, it doesn't really make a difference. The only thing that New York can do to get back into this game is to start their run early and continue their run for the entire second half.
Well, on the other side, Philadelphia just pretty much has to maintain, right?
Yeah, and the keys that we talked about earlier, getting rolling and keeping it easy, playing from ahead as opposed to playing from behind, they've shown the ability to do that thus far in this game. As we saw them run off 5 straight points to start the second quarter and then to close it with 3 straight points. That shows an ability to keep their opponent down as opposed to letting their opponent back in the game. The challenge for them is to, after this halftime break, as they step away from the field and come back out, maybe make some changes on offense or defense, talk about some things they want to work on, is not lose sight of maintaining control of this game.
Let's take a look back at the 2 players that we highlighted. First for the Rumble, Chris Mazur, who we saw right before halftime, visibly frustrated, but has he done what he needs to do to keep his team in this?
Well, the thing with Mazur is that he needs to take some of the throws for his team, so he's in situations where he has to make difficult goal-scoring throws, and he has to shoulder a lot of load for him. And in doing that, he's been trying to, but he's been on the defensive line a lot, and you don't get behind to the tune of 12-5 based on how poorly your defense is playing. You get behind based on how bad your offense is playing. And he can't save the offense when he's playing on defense.
Quickly, Billy Sickles was the other man we highlighted for Philadelphia. Hasn't had a ton in this game. He did have that nice put to Meta, but otherwise relatively quiet.
Relatively quiet, yes, but he's been involved in the offense. He's been touching the disc, and he's been eating up a defender for New York. You can't just hide a defender on him. And in so doing, he switches the matchups around. But as we talked about, as you just mentioned, his ability to catch that underneath pass and then just turn around and throw the goal downfield on a nice maybe 50-yard huck to someone, that's what makes him different. That goal and that point were all on him. And the way that he's been able to stick with that so far has been strong, but he needs to maintain in the second half. New York is going to have some opportunities to put Philadelphia's offense on the field, and Sickles, Rainwater, and the rest of Philadelphia has to maintain their ability.
We get set to start the third quarter here. Philadelphia on top 12-5. And we'll look to just keep maintaining that lead in this gap. It'll be interesting to see what adjustments New York made in the locker room. Do you think they would change up their lines at all? At least we did see Mazur, who had started off primarily on defense, then had to come out on offense, where he normally plays.
Right.
But I don't know if we'll see any more switches as we look inside their huddle.
Well, the thing is, what they need to do is get the offense off of the field. The rest of this team has to think of themselves as on the defensive line for the rest of this game. They're not going to get back in the game playing on offense. The goal has to be to keep the offense away from the disc. Get them to score 1 point, get off the field, and spend the rest of the game on defense.
Philadelphia looking, as I keep saying, just to maintain and continue to push their lead. As long as they hold this gap, they will win by a landslide.
And both teams have been patient on offense, but the results of Philadelphia being patient tend to be goals, whereas the results of New York being patient tends to see their offense fizzle and run out of energy. Their cuts downfield slow down. The folks with the disc hold on to it a little bit too long, looking for something that isn't coming. People are making cuts to the same place at the same time. It's not a clean offense, and that's not really sufficient to stick with this Philadelphia team who's playing very well this season.
You highlight that a lot because Mowitz has been doing a lot of work getting open, and they're just not getting him the disc when he is open.
And it's difficult to tell whether that's on Kuzmowicz or whether it's on the throwers. I don't know where the throwers are necessarily supposed to be looking, because you can be cutting to the wrong spot and be cutting well to get open there, but if the throwers aren't engaging with that area of the field, it doesn't make a difference. On the other hand, as a thrower, you want to be able to see your teammates when they're open, whether they're doing it right or wrong.
Well, New York will start with the disc, so that should help as Bosco reels in the pull from Bear, and we're underway in the third quarter. And already, Mazur tried to sell that one, but tough throw from Hennessy for him to dig out. Philadelphia looking for Perifico. He can't get there, and New York will get a second chance.
Perhaps that area of the field's higher than everywhere else. It's just
Oh, nice catch D there for Philadelphia. And they put it into Perifico for the score.
looked like it was Rob Robinson on the D there. And he had a better view of the play than the rest of the team did, or than the rest of the offense did. He was coming from downfield, could see the thrower, could see all the options, saw the play develop, and committed to getting the block underneath.
New York just looking for a simple swing, but you got to go to the disc. One of the early lessons you'll learn as an ultimate player.
Well, we can go through the whole list of early lessons you learned. Catch your Ds, go to the disc. Offense is easy if you make it easy. Don't cut to the same place at the same time. This is a lesson in ultimate basics.
And Robinson was the one who went to the disc.
Defenders tend to.
They want it. They want to get it back. So 13-5 now the score with 9:33 left to go. That's 27 seconds ticking off the clock in that span of time.
And New York still hasn't gotten the offense off the field yet. That's the key.
I have not seen, actually, game-wise, a lot of Philadelphia's O-line. So there are two defensive units that have seen most of the playing time tonight. Flip this one out to Faust at midfield.
They run that out of a side stack, and Faust made a big, long cut, got open pretty well.
Anderson with a cross-field hammer looking downfield for Kuzmowicz, and it's D'd up, this time by Leon Chow.
Chow had the inside angle on that. It was an imperfect throw. This is the thing that's going to be playing against New York for the whole rest of the game, is that they're going to feel pressed, and they're going to feel like they have to make up this whole deficit in one throw or two throws. And it doesn't work that way. You have to do bit by bit, just like you would if you were ahead.
Esser moves it up. Big flick going out, and this one is not able to be corralled.
It wasn't a great throw there from Casey, but it bounced off both of Lindsay's hands. He probably should have caught it anyway, but he had to make an extraordinary effort to get there.
Faust, the only New York defender back, and will pick up the disc. Finds Kuzmowicz.
And that was a situation where Kuzmowicz was actually better covered than the other option, Wodach, on this close side of the field here.
Sean Murray up to Joe Anderson. Takes a late hit.
Yeah, that's a foul. Not really bandable. A little bit of contact. Got to discourage folks from making that play as well.
Second time we've seen Jack Casey with those late bids. His Faust skies for a grab over Lindsay. New York looking to put this one in. Murray with the layout, and he can't get there. Well, he was there. Just the layout and everything else hindered him from making the catch.
Had the speed and length to get there, but not to make the catch. This is not going New York's way to start this.
Pana will get to take this all the way up to the goal line to deal with Hennessy on the mark. They send it back to Chow, and then another bump from Kuzmowicz, his momentum carrying him into him.
Yeah, Chow's asking for that foul a little bit as well. It was certainly a foul.
Chow trying to send this one around, gets it to Esser. Esser's got a man downfield. That's Lindsay trying to get over. This one will hang up in the air, and he's able to track it down just shy of the end zone. New York trying to get back defensively, looking for the put in for the score, and Philadelphia just continues to pound it in here on New York. It's 14-5, 7:06 left to go in the quarter.
Philadelphia is all answers. New York is all questions. Everything that Philadelphia does right now seems to be turning out correctly.
Take a look. Here was the first attempt for New York, the hammer, and it was D'd up nicely by Chow. Great grab by Faust. And then the put in.
Yep. And Faust got beat deep there originally by Lindsay, and then he got beat there for the goal. I'm not sure if it was a switch moving from player to player or what exactly is happening right now, but New York's putting in a new line right now on offense. Got to try up a little bit different. Looks like they've been sticking to primarily offense or defensive lines. They may want to consider switching it up a little bit, doing a hybrid line. They just need to reach into their bag of tricks, whatever they have, to make this game remotely manageable.
So 14-5 as we approach the 7-minute mark. And New York just trying to switch things up. Zhu. They get it back to midfield.
Philadelphia defenders are trailing the New York players and then trying to catch up to them on these undercuts. They're doing a very good job of accelerating through the expected passes, but now we just see a drop on a reset pass.
Patton, the one throwing it away, is now Philadelphia mixes things up, looking for Perifico in the end zone. Did he stay in? He did. Second score of the quarter here for Perifico, and he is fired up with the spike.
You can see the fire coming right out the top of his head.
15-5. As Perifico with a nice job of tiptoeing the line on the slide for the catch.
There may be some players as fast as him in the league, but there aren't any who are faster.
We'll step away here with Philadelphia now up by 10 in the third quarter and 6:34 left to go.
You are just one of a kind, my dear. Such a good find, it's clear that you were made for me. We could be believably so carefree, for all the world to see that you were made for me.
Welcome back here. Philadelphia sideline, pretty excited and happy as they should be now with a 10-goal lead, and New York calling timeout. It's 15-5 at Villanova Stadium. Jeff Poster alongside Dusty Rhodes. So glad you could join us for the call of this one. It's New York just constantly searching for answers and not finding them.
There's really not much out there for them right now. They're having difficulty possessing the disc on a very basic level. They're having difficulty executing their downfield concepts with authority and with awareness of what each other is doing. They're not playing as a team right now. Everything's just falling apart. And this is that situation that you know is going to happen in Ultimate when you play long enough. And it's about how you respond and how you deal with the rest of this game. And if you can commit to just playing as well as you can in order to inspire trust in your teammates for the future, you're not playing for this game anymore. You're laying down the building blocks of how you're going to succeed in the next game and the game after that.
Coming into this game, New York was coming off a tough loss to Boston at home. That was a 14-12 game that was very low scoring. It was only 1-0 after the first quarter. And they are now very dangerously close to being eliminated from any sort of postseason contention, sitting at 1-4 and looking like they're going to be 1-5. As we said, Boston and DC off this weekend, and the rest that'll allow the Spinners and the Rumble to catch up in terms of games played. So everyone in the East will have played 6 games.
Yeah, and Boston and DC are both sitting there tied 3-3. So they look like they have the inside track to second place. I don't think New York would technically be eliminated, but they'd be effectively eliminated because their point differential is not being helped by this game and didn't start off that well.
Minus 15 coming into the game. Right now sitting at, if it were to end right now and stay as things are, it would be minus 25 afterwards.
Yow.
So point differential being the second tiebreaker. Actually, that's what's got Boston ahead technically in the standings over DC. The two teams split their only matchup so far, and New York will have the tough task and could very well be eliminated next week officially as they travel to Boston. And that will be our live game of the week.
New York's operating it out of the same sort of set they've been using for most of their pull plays here. They run a middle stack or a side stack vertically, and then they isolate a cutter. But up to this point, as you can see here, they've either been dropping the disc or the Philadelphia players have been closing down well enough.
Chow wasting no time after picking it up, but can't connect.
No, not wasting time, just wasting a possession. You see, he just tried to throw that too hard. It's that we talk about it consistently. It's that moment where you see the open player and you just want to get it there so badly that you overthrow, you get excited, you put too much on the disc. He threw that low line drive, didn't have a chance.
So New York will fortunately get it back and keep trying here. Alarcon on the far side swings it back out to Bosco. Bosco looking for Kuzmowicz. Right back to Bosco. Got Damiano on him. Nice grab going low is Jacob Price. He sends a flick out towards the end zone, and it's going to be a bit too much for Alarcon.
It's interesting. A lot of the throws that we've seen New York overthrow have been to this end zone that they were attacking just now, and for most of the evening that's been sort of against the wind. So they've been overthrowing it in a direction that we didn't expect them. Although right now the wind is mostly dead. It's been changing direction a little bit, swirling around a little bit, as it usually does in a stadium. And New York just hasn't been able to adjust.
Pana starts things off for the Spinners as they look to swing it in this near side. Tom O'Connor has it. Back to Damiano, looking for Mike Bear, rips it away. New York trying to keep up defensive pressure.
It's a good catch in the face of that pressure by Bear there. Could have easily been a Callahan if he hadn't committed to it.
Lindsay finds Damiano, and foul against Bosco as he got a little too close for comfort.
New York's now in Philadelphia is now in a spread stack. Taking the space on the field, using it a little well.
Pana, a little low throw over to Bear. He looks to air this one out. Lindsay downfield, trying to track it down over Kuzmowicz, and he skies for the grab.
Kuzmowicz really did an excellent job of getting anywhere close to getting a block on that play. At this point, it's Philadelphia. Everyone who catches the disc is looking to throw a goal right away, and they generally have open receivers streaking there, and it's a matter of whether they want to take the throw or not. As we see Bear take the throw here, Lindsay's behind both defenders by about 5 yards when that throw goes up. Kuzmowicz really made a heck of an effort there to attempt to make that block over Lindsay's shoulder. Lindsay could have gone up a little bit earlier to secure the catch, but a goal is a goal is a goal.
Definitely a size difference between those two players. Lindsay listed at 6'4", Kuzmowicz just 5'7". So a bit of a mismatch that Lindsay knew he could take advantage of. And now the 11-goal lead for the Spinners. Curious to see if that's highest margin that they've ever secured.
We frequently talk about putting the defensive line out on offense, but right now it looks like Philadelphia is putting the offensive line out on defense. That's a sure sign of a blowout in an ultimate game.
Rumble in danger right now of potentially suffering their worst loss as a franchise. They had a very tough time in Boston one season ago, losing 23-6 on a rainy night where they were missing almost half the team. But while they are missing some key players tonight, they still have enough bodies to field a team with a good amount of subs, as this is a put out, and they're able to get this one in. Gillies finally gets New York back on the board. It's the first time they've scored since it was 9-5 back early in the second quarter.
Gillies was beating two defenders here, and Mazur put the perfect throw out in front of him. Now we're going to get to see some of the same players for Philadelphia's offense stay on the field. It looks like Katzenbach will stay on, and the rest of their O-line will come on now. And Sickles will stay on as well.
Philly just needs to get their O-line out there to give their D-line a little bit of a breathing room.
Well, and that's why they were out playing on that last
Exactly.
D point. It's the sort of thing where you both want to get your defense a little bit of rest, and you don't want your offense to get too cold, because if they come back in later in a high-pressure point, you want them to be able to execute as they had been all game.
Here's Brown pulling for New York, who have not pulled in quite some time, trailing by 10, 16-6 with 3:30 left to go in the third quarter.
Philadelphia out of a side sack.
And we'll get to see some of the depth of the Spinners, who are pretty much have their whole roster tonight. Nice grab by Sheridan, guy we have not seen quite some time.
It's a lot of contact there after the play between Sheridan and his defender.
Shot at Ben Sheridan right now, talking to a referee. Take a look again.
It's right after this here.
Peter Kalmakis for New York.
It looks like both of them were sort of guilty there. The Kalmakis was establishing a position that was a little bit questionable, and Sheridan was having none of it. He was like, if you're just going to stand there, I will run over you.
Meta comes in the vertical stack, makes that first cut and grabs it, gets it to Sheridan, who's double teamed, dumps it back to Ward. Meta gets it again, here net open. Philadelphia continuing to move pretty quickly here. Ward.
New York is scrambling a little better on defense than they have been, showing some heart still.
Meta has it back. Ward gets it again, right in front of the goal line, puts up a hammer for Sheridan, and he's got it.
And that's the way that Philadelphia has been dealing with that pressure all game long. They haven't seemed flustered by it, and they've just assessed the field and delivered the correct passes. That's an easy little hammer over the top there. It cleared both the two markers, it cleared the second player downfield, and it got down in time before the help defense could come.
So 17-6, 11 the difference. With 2:27 left to go in the third quarter. Philadelphia trying to improve their overall record to 5-1. That'll help their goal differential out a lot as well if Boston or DC able to potentially catch them in the standings.
It will help, and that's one of the things that's been noticeable in the East is that the Whitecaps have been doing very well goal differential-wise, whereas the Spinners have been winning close games, and DC has been negative on the whole, despite that they're tied at 3-3 with the Whitecaps.
Whitecaps, the victims of 2 double overtime losses.
Yeah, it doesn't help your differential.
No.
For sure.
Well, it kind of does. It's only one. That's the way they've been able to keep up with this. Now New York putting one deep, and it's D'd up. Philadelphia again wasting no time getting this one back in.
Yeah, off to the races. Multiple open players right now. There's another guy on that far side.
Damiano was racing hard downfield. Or excuse me, rather.
Looked like it was a spot foul
41.
there instead of a 10-yarder.
41, Nick Matheson, not 4. Matheson had the D. Barifico, the push pass up to Bear. On the far sideline, it's Colton. McCutcheon.
Philly's just taking their time here. New York really is not pressing on defense. They're lagging behind their defenders. Not everybody, but a large percentage of their defenders right now are not putting in the effort necessary.
1:18 left to go in this first quarter. Philadelphia could potentially just keep swinging this disc and kill the rest of the clock in the third quarter.
And now that they're getting down to about a minute left, well,
Nice block there. Joe Anderson.
a point block caught.
New York with a chance. He's close out the third quarter strong. Bosco.
Gillies was open by about 5 yards there. I'm not sure why Bosco didn't put it up to the end zone.
Because Mowitz has it. Price wants it. You see him with his arms out. Anderson gets it. Now with some space to make a throw, looking for the end zone. And Murray's able to beat his man in position and track this one down for the score.
It's an excellent bid there. He almost got, it was similar to the Kuzmowicz bid earlier, where you go up early and you try to extend over the player's shoulder to make the play. It's dangerous, and you got to make sure you don't come down on anyone who's on the opposition, and you have to land safely for yourself. But it's the sort of play that it's the only chance that you have to make a play on a pass that is that well thrown. We see Anderson catch the point block here. You don't see that too frequently. Really elevated on that play. I'm happy he's all right when he came back down to earth.
They throw. Johansson. And connecting with Murray, who got kind of a nice handshake and high five from his former teammates. Mike Bear. Jack Casey over there, the man he beat as well to that position. And Mazer will pull. 40 seconds left to go in the third quarter. New York trying to do the impossible. Come back from down 10. Or as much as 11.
Philadelphia starting out of a horizontal here.
Ward gets it back to Haranet. Spinners most likely looking to kill the rest of this clock in the third quarter.
Yeah, they don't even really need to generate a scoring opportunity. They just need to make sure New York doesn't score.
Ward flicks one out to Rainwater, rips it down over Alarcon. Sickles across to Glazer.
This'll be
Haranet,
it.
hearing the crowd count down, decides to air one out. It'll float into the end zone. And New York tips it into Philly's hands. Ben Sheridan with the score.
That is incredible. That's just a reaction
man.
play there on the part of New York, and it just goes directly to Philadelphia. This is the way it's been
Wow.
going all day.
Wow.
And it just pops over, and he says, oh, I'll smack this down.
Gwinner tips it right into Sheridan's hands. I don't even know if Sheridan knew it was coming, but that's the way the third quarter comes to an end. 18-7, Philadelphia on top of New York.
You are just one of a kind, my dear. Such a good find, it's clear that you were made for me. We could be believably so carefree, for all the world to see that you were made for me.
Canterbury is proud to power your game and as the official apparel sponsor for Major League Ultimate. Visit www.canterburyus.com today, the destination for your team's custom uniforms. Canterbury, committed to Ultimate. Point6 Socks, the official sock sponsor of Major League Ultimate. Check out www.point6.com for their full line of performance merino wool socks. 18-7 as we start the fourth quarter. And now, Dusty, I think I've seen everything that this game could possibly offer with that last score by Phillies. Gwinner tipped it, and he tipped it right into the chest of Ben Sheridan.
And no, you really don't need to see that disc coming. You just have to find it in your chest.
Which I think he did.
It was just already there. All he had to do was wrap it up and keep it. It's really just emblematic of exactly how this game has gone thus far. Early on, we saw plays go both ways where the disc was hopping. The second person was catching the disc. There were tip plays. But as the game has gone on, more and more of those plays have gone Philadelphia's way. And the response from New York has really been lackluster on the whole. Their offense falls apart, but their defense isn't there to pick them up, either from the offensive side or from the defensive side of the disc.
Philadelphia playing very much like the team that is on the top of the Eastern Conference, playing like a first-place team and putting the foot down on the bottom of the conference.
We may be underselling exactly what New York is missing in terms of the players who aren't here right now, because by putting Mazur in on the defensive side, that sort of makes their offense less effective. It's the same thing with putting Anderson in on the offensive side. It makes their defense different. And we've also seen the return of Sean Murray, and that's a good thing. He's a very good player, but that's a new person that you're adding in who hasn't been there over the rest of the season, save for maybe 1 or 2 points when he tried to come back earlier in the season.
Again, some of the names that are inactive this week are key players for the Rumble. Vukovic, Hunziker, Alaro was questionable. We have not seen him tonight. Karcher, Wycus, Brownlee, McGugan, all inactive, not to mention that they lost one of their leading defenders. Jabram Miser is out for the rest of the season. That Liz Frank, which is a midfoot injury. He has a fracture there. So those are some big guns for the Rumble to be without any game, let alone when you're playing the top-seeded team in the conference.
And they try out new things, and sometimes the new things, they just don't happen to work. I would expect to see New York, as they're doing this sideline pull here, I'd expect to see them try to put a little more pressure on Philadelphia, try some things out that they may want to use against other opponents in the future.
Yeah, just starting to think this could be at least a learning experience for New York and mix things up, see what the deeper parts of their playbook might have in store. As Rainwater puts one out and nicely D'd up.
It's Kalmakis, yeah?
By Peter Kalmakis. Got that one over Sheridan.
Yeah, he took the inside position and established himself in the air early enough that Sheridan couldn't go up and over him. As the smaller defensive player, you generally have to make the more aggressive play and earlier than your counterpart.
So New York, but they'll throw it right back.
Perhaps that's why he's on the defensive side.
Glazer gets it, sends it to Sheridan. Rainwater centers it. Sickles to Hiernett. Nick Hiernett. And he finds Jake Rainwater. First time we've seen Rainwater in the end zone since the very beginning of the second quarter. But it makes it 19-7.
And the ability there of Hiernett to sort of look off a lot of easier options in that high stall count and then just confirm and throw a goal to Rainwater rather than throwing a reset, rather than working the disc around. That's the sort of thing that we've been seeing from Philadelphia more and more as they've maintained their confidence in this game. Whether they were doubting themselves before they came in whether they really believed that they were as good as they have looked, during this game throughout, they've shown a belief in that. And that confidence gets you really far in Ultimate because it gets you those plays where the disc is bouncing off of someone. It convinces you to run down that disc that bounced off the defender who was trying to get you. And it makes you play defense. Defense is the heart of how this game works. If you're the best team at defense, you have a very good shot of winning.
And you can see they've been laughing and having fun on the sideline, so they're clearly enjoying themselves out there, which helps them as well, just mentally. New York still looking for something. Bosco and Hennessy back, as it looks like they've returned to this original starting O-line as Gillies grabs it, and Kuzmowicz going up for the one-handed grab, can't come down with it. Damiano was off to the races for Philadelphia. Mike Baer, who's had a nice night, Sends a Scuba over to Damiano.
It's a
There's
quick
flick
release.
downfield, and just no problem for the Philadelphia Spinners. Tom O'Connor, his second score of the night.
Was that Lindsay to O'Connor? That's not really a combination we've
One
seen
that you hear very much.
at all. Those are both those sort of gangly downfield guys who you use to get blocks and generate goals.
Was indeed.
But Lindsay takes that quick snap of a flick out there and puts it out in front. O'Connor had been putting his hands up asking for that disc for about 50 yards by that point. Lindsay saw him a little bit late, but not so late that he couldn't deliver the quick snap flick out there. The mark didn't seal off, and you just execute the play that you've done before.
20-7 now the score. As Philadelphia just continues to just break the hearts of the New York Rumble and all their fans here at Villanova tonight.
Do you think many of those fans over there are New York Rumble?
Still here?
There's certainly some green in the stands, some green-colored shirts. Decent crowd out here, though.
Luau night.
Yeah. I didn't know. I would have brought my Hawaiian shirt or something from the collection, you know?
Here's Hollingworth for New York.
New York came out there in a horizontal, and Philadelphia came out in basically an anti-horizontal switching zone. So they sat a couple players underneath, sat a couple players over top, and matched up after the first cut.
Mazer continues it on. They try to get it to Zhu. Tried to one-hand grab, but a couple of Philadelphia jerseys closing in on him.
Philadelphia knew that player was going there before New York knew the player was going there.
Matheson in the area for the D. Bear gets it back to Colton. And Zhu gets it right back, and they send it in. Nope, not quite. It's just behind the end zone, and New York, I believe,
Might be a delay of game here.
looked like they were trying to call timeout. Or maybe
No,
just signaling that there was contact.
No, he was in the end zone when he had the disc there, and you're not allowed to throw technically from the end zone. It's not a legitimate pass, so he has to back out. But he didn't realize it first.
That was Brenton Hard. Gets it back to Gwinner. Mazer. Around, and they find Hollingworth in the end zone as New York able to get their 8th on the night and make it 20-8.
Ready, replay? Right. Take replay.
It's a good swing there by Mazer getting low and making sure the mark can't stop him. And it was a good fake there before they delivered the goal to make the mark go flying off to the side just so it was an easy toss instead of a difficult break throw. Being able to read your mark and manipulate him, get him out of the way, very useful as an offensive player. But at the same time, as a defensive player, you have to commit to the first throw and then trust your teammates to help you out on the second one. It's a no-win situation as defense.
Oh, Andrew Hollingworth, hometown Amherst, Massachusetts, went to Tufts University. Clearly didn't get the memo that the rest of the Tufts alums are all playing for the Whitecaps.
You got to have your pipelines, ultimate-wise.
You know, I joked with the Boston Tufts guys that they have 7 of them. They could just put a Tufts line out there, and they didn't want to do that. They said, no, I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, you put a college team out against an MLU team. You don't expect the college team to come out ahead.
There you go. And Philadelphia took maybe about 2 seconds for that one. Glazer, believe it or not, first time we've seen him catch one in the end zone tonight.
That defensive point there by New York was just depressing. All Ian did was check the disc in on the sideline and throw it down the same third. That's at least one defender has to be in the way.
McClellan with a big smile on his face as he heads back to the sideline.
Don't let anybody tell you it's not fun to throw goals, kids.
Glazer, I'm sure, happy to be on the receiving end. He's normally involved in a lot of them, but tonight hasn't been able to take the share of these ones that the Spinners have been just racking up.
Well, he's on the offensive line. As we look down the stats for the offensive team, it's under their production for usual, but that's because Philadelphia's defense has finally had a game to take the pressure off of their offense. Philadelphia has scored more offensive goals than any other team in the league thus far, and their offensive efficiency is what has been putting them in situations to win these games. The reason they haven't had a result like this, where they're just blowing another team out of the water, is that you need your defense to do that. Your offense can only keep you close.
Nice grab there for New York. Hennessy with the layout. And then Anderson can't reel that one in. I think he was looking for a call. He's not going to get it.
It's contested pass after contested pass for New York. And the Philadelphia crowd is cheering just as loudly as they were earlier.
They love this. They want to see their team in the playoffs this season. And they are well on their way. Pana looking for the end zone. It's caught. There are almost no drops for Philly. And the emphatic spike. 22-8. Jack Casey.
Bump set to the spike. We're missing the two-handed set there, but, you know, I guess it'll do. It is a Frisbee as opposed to a volleyball. It doesn't bounce quite as well.
Well, they spike it down all the time when they score, so this
It's a nice
just
catch
another one.
and a really good effort there by the New York defender.
I don't know how much of that spike he actually got. I think it was almost all the way down to the ground before, if he even touched it at all.
Oh, I'll still take it though. That's how you get your kill numbers up in volleyball. You got to get those
Right.
tips near the line. You got to hit off the blockers all the time, just into the stands. That gets you a kill there. Oh, volleyball's a fun sport. Maybe we should finish this game up with a little volleyball instead of playing this last quarter out. I don't know. Maybe New York's really good at volleyball and we'll make up the
Do
deficit.
something different. 22-8. New York trailing here by a couple of touchdowns.
Philadelphia's trying out a zone here. It looks like a 1-3 or maybe a 4-person cup. Now they're crumbling into a man defense here. They're having a little trouble matching up, but it doesn't really matter.
Hollingworth just turfs that one. And Philadelphia will get it back once again.
Highlights one of the problems in ooh,
A hammer downfield. And Alarcon coming over, got a piece of it.
it's a very dangerous hammer there. There were a lot of players who could get to that space if they ran very fast, kind of dropping out of the sky, out of their view. And, yeah, we see a little bit of an injury here coming
He
off.
took the worst of it, and McCutcheon looked like he was in the worst spot and is fine. Wodach will come in. Take a look again. So that hammer floated. You'd think McCutcheon would take the worst of that as he took the collision down by his legs from Alarcon, but it's Alarcon who's headed to the sideline.
Yeah, in a mess like that, it's a little more luck than it is anything else. You can prepare yourself for that sort of impact, but you can't always guarantee that you come out all right. And it looks like we've got a delay of game here against New York. So they're losing another 10 yards back into their end zone.
Mazer floats the hammer across field.
Philly's back into their zone here. It's a little sort of a flexible 4-person cup. Kind of a 2-1-2 near the disc with a lot of help over top.
New York trying to get it out of their end zone. Hollingworth has it back. Gets it to Mazer. Mazer trying to get around that zone of Philadelphia. A good cup from them. Wodach dumps it back.
Looks like Philadelphia is now into more of a man, although they're still providing help over the top.
New York sending one across field. Mazer gets it back. In stride. Dumps it back to Gwinner. Nice one-handed grab. New York with some very fluid offense right now. And they're able to reel that one in for the score. Hollingworth coming up with it.
It's just a smaller version of that here in that play. A tip disc, focus on it, make the catch. New York did a good job patiently working it up here. Although this pass, it really needs to be further out towards the corner so that the defender doesn't have an opportunity to make this play, even though it was negated by the excellent focus here.
Matheson had that hand on it. And it's tough to get ones around a big guy like him, but
Well, that's why you practice throwing all the time. That's the whole point. It's you expect your defenders to be covered by someone who's adept at making blocks. And the bigger they are, in a certain sense, the harder they fall, because you can lead them out, you can sort of use their size against them and put the disc in a place where they can't react quickly enough to it. If you put it close to them, they can do what he did there, which is almost just fall towards the disc and make a play.
Well, 6'4", Nick Matheson and Patrick Lindsay, the two tallest men out there for the Spinners, both at 6'4".
Philadelphia in the side stack here, using Ian McClellan as their first cut. Katzenbach was the second cut, and then Sickles filled, but isn't really much happening there.
5 minutes left to go in the game. Jake Rainwater for McClellan again, or Ward rather. Ward sends this one out. Meta back there, as well as Sheridan. Himalaya Meta tips it up and in to himself. He's having fun.
It was a nice catch. It was kind of thrown into a crowd. The thrower spotted an open space, but couldn't deliver it quite well enough to make it an easy catch. But again, it's just another tip disc, just another chance and focus play that's going Philadelphia's way right now. You can see the defender picked that up really late. He had no idea the disc was right over his head.
He took that away from Sheridan, too, who was right there. But Meta with the length. And he got the first hand on it. Tipped it up. Followed through. .445 left to go. 44. Pana pulling again. So New York will not set their franchise record low output.
Maybe the second.
Only scored 6 in one game last season against Boston. And they lost that one 23-6. Right now it's 23-9.
New York out of a split stack here. Gillies is wide open downfield. No one's within 20 yards of him.
And a foul against the Spinners.
The thrower's vision was not downfield. He was just pivoting around, looking for maybe a little bit of a contact here. Gillies had been open for the entirety of that point up until that stoppage.
Mike Bear gets a hand on that one, but not enough. Hennessy able to still catch it. Gets it to Anderson. Joe Anderson finds Faust. Faust quickly with a hammer looking for Gillies. And Gillies can't come down with it. He is very tangled up and has some words, look like, for Pana, who still has a smile on his face.
I'm not sure who came in with the words there. There was a lot of contact, but that was a very clean play on the whole.
Just some frustration boiling over, maybe.
Yeah, you're never happy when you get tangled up with somebody, and they were moving at pace there as well.
Philly airing this one out again. This will be tough to catch up to, but they might have a chance. Oh, and they can't finish it.
Oh, my. I didn't think he had any chance to even catch up to that, and all he did was catch up to make a drop. It's it's a little disappointing. I thought that was going to be the first disc that Philadelphia has been putting up deep that just didn't connect. Connected, just not fully.
That one might haunt Lindsay's dreams for a little bit. The catch that wasn't. As we approach the 3-minute mark here, 23-9 the score. Philly gets it right back, and they send it in. Dustin Damiano with the 24th goal on the night for the Spinners. Pana with the assist.
And more importantly, with the block there, he just ran into the space that New York was throwing into. Not sure exactly where he came from. He peeled off from another offensive player who wasn't making an impact, wasn't making sure that he was occupying his defense. And Pana just ran through, caught the disc, threw the goal. We're at a large lead here, 24-9.
15.
Just did not see that coming.
Would double New York's goal differential deficit.
The effect of moving players around for New York seems to have stymied their offensive flow. Whatever they had working for them previously in the earlier in the season really doesn't seem to be working right now. You can still see Anderson on the sideline trying to lift his teammates up, but they all know that this game is over. It's a difficult place to be in to have to come out here and keep playing points, knowing that you don't have enough time to make a comeback and still make a good show of yourself as a player and yourself as a person.
It's frustrating for New York. who had played all these teams relatively closely in their first matchups, as another D for the Spinners. Just good for them not letting up. Pat Ferrone.
They've proven that they can play in a situation where they are the favorite. They have not come close to letting New York back in this game.
Whistle and a pick downfield against the Spinners.
Yeah, they got a little clogged up there on their offense. There were about 3 or 4 cutters in the same little area.
Dave Bear gets it right back. There's one out down the sideline. Another one that they run down by Meta. He's had a nice night.
Bear put a lot of pace on that disc to get it out in front.
Great layout D from New York. Might have come up a little bit gimpy after that one.
It's a fantastic athletic play there.
Meta tried to float this one out. Just a great play from the Rumbles defense.
And that's where you can see that some of their players are definitely still committing to this game and are still showing what their worth is.
New York double team now. Sends a Scuba out to Mazer. Also dealing with the double team, finds Wodach. Wodach just dealing with Meta. Mazer sends a flick downfield looking for Hollingworth. If he gets it, he'll score. And he does. And New York will get into double figures. Their 10th goal of the night. That's Hollingworth. Third of this quarter, actually.
And that was a good toss there by Mazer. He saw that cut develop for a while, and he was ready to put that pass out, probably pictured the flight path pretty well. Put it all the way out in front of Hollingworth there.
They'll take a timeout. We'll take it 2. It's 24-10 with 1:16 left to go here in the game. Welcome back to Villanova Stadium, 24-10 the score with 1:16 left to go in the game. Stop your hands from sweating and increase your performance with Gamer Grip. This non-sticky solution allows you to make better throws and grab better catches without a hint of slippage. Philadelphia has had no issues with slippage or catches tonight. They've been all over the place and have a 14-goal lead. We look at the New York sideline. And Philadelphia's as well in the timeout. It's the Rumble's final timeout after they scored, so they'll pull from midfield and at least, Dusty, try to continue to improve on the execution of this midfield pull.
Yeah. It's always worth practicing real-life situations in real games, whether the game is already over or not. It's good to be used to the fans. It's good to be used to the opponents not knowing what you're going to do, possibly throwing a monkey wrench in your plans. And you don't always get that same sort of charge, that same sort of challenge out of a practice.
So we'll see what the Rumble can do, at least defensively. There's obviously always something to still work on, despite being down 14 with 1:16 left to go in the game. This game was over a long time ago, and the Spinners, as I said, will improve to 5-1. And they had no danger of losing their top spot in the Eastern Conference this weekend with both Boston and DC off. The Rumble will fall to 1-5 and will head to Boston next weekend to take on the Whitecaps. Philadelphia Spinners and the DC Current will match up. Live game of the week will be in Boston, as Whitecaps basically will have a chance to end New York's season for all intents and purposes. As Brown pulls here and tries to pin this one out the back, nearly does it. Philadelphia, Trey Katzenbach got a hand on it, but couldn't stop it.
It was a good pull there. And they put some pressure on early, but Philadelphia just broke out of it and hucked deep on them again.
And Rainwater is all alone deep down the field. As Philadelphia just continues to run it down. And now they do a nice job of splitting up the one defender back, and they go in for another score. That was beautiful offense from the Philadelphia Spinners.
They started off in a tough spot, but they ended up in an easy spot. Worked all the way down the field. They put that huck up earlier, and they confirmed the goal with the short assist there. For the night as a whole, it looked like the New York Rumble wanted to play underneath the Spinners' cutters downfield and dare the Spinners into throwing deep, but the Spinners seem to have been completely okay with that, as they're throwing deep at will over and over and over again to people who are open by 5 yards, who are open by 7 yards, who are totally uncovered. And when they are covered, it's just bouncing off of the defender and going to the offense for a goal anyway. At this point, there's not much you can take away from this game if you're New York. You played very poorly. There were a lot of drops, a lot of throwaways, and Philadelphia was ready to prove themselves worthy of the top spot in the conference here.
They're going to send this pull just out of bounds off of Pana's hand.
Well, I thought they were worthy, and here they are pulling out of bounds already.
That's where it comes crashing down for you.
Setting myself up for that. All you have to do is throw it on the giant field, you know?
It was close. 53 seconds left to go in the game. After the score by Damiano, Hennessy will start things off for New York, sends it out to Bosco, and then gets it right back.
Philadelphia's in a zone here. It looks kind of like a three-person cup. A little bit flexible.
Hennessy with the OI backhand out to Anderson.
Anderson was the open player there. That was where the space was, and Hennessy did a really good job delivering that outside-in backhand.
Kuzmowicz dealing with the double team, sends a hammer out. Anderson is back there. A couple of Philly defenders knock it down. And the Spinners can run out the clock here. He just has to pick up the disc. So Philadelphia improves to 5-1. The Rumble dropped to 1-5 and double their goal differential at -30 if they are able to go on a run and get in back in the standings with the Current and the Whitecaps. But that's your final score, 25-10 here at Villanova Stadium. We'll take a break, step away, hopefully talk to our player of the game, Nick Kieran, after this.
You are just one of a kind, my dear. Such a good find, it's clear that you were made for me. We could be believably so carefree, for all the world to see that you were made for me.
Welcome back to Villanova Stadium. We take a look at some highlights of our player of the game, Nick Kieran, and his team with a great 25-10 win. Just never looked back from the first pull of this one. And big congratulations to Nick, who's field side right now. See a lot of his great highlights from this win.
You can see him back behind the disc here, just controlling the tempo of the offense, delivering it where it needs to be. They're not all goals, but he's involved in them. And then we finally get a look at him downfield here.
This is my favorite play of the game.
It's fantastic, the focus, and it's the best version of the tip disc catch that we've seen in this game, and there were a ton of tip disc catches today.
A couple of angles on that one. He just did such a great job of keeping that big toe was all that was down, I think, in the end. So Nick joins us downfield side. Congratulations, Nick, on the win.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Hey, Dusty Rhodes here. Just have a couple of questions for you. What was the spark in this game from the beginning for you guys?
You know, we just wanted to come out on fire. You know, we don't care about the standings. We focus on every game, every single point. So we just came out, and we came out on fire, and we never let off the gas.
We often talk about how efficient your team's offense has been over the course of this season, and it's gotten you a lot of wins, a lot of close wins. What does it mean to see a performance like this from your defense today?
Oh, it means everything. Our defense has been wonderful all year, and we've had a little trouble punching them in, and today they just punched every disc in. It was just great to see.
It's helpful to get that sort of margin of error as an offensive player, right? So you have a little bit more freedom?
Absolutely. I'll be honest, I don't mind sitting on the bench and letting the D-line do all the work. They deserve it.
They always say the defensive players always want to get back on the field, and the offensive players just want to sit back and watch. So can you tell us a little bit about what was going through your head when you made that tip disc catch down at the far end zone here?
Sure, yeah. So I felt like I had my guy beat deep. It just shorted up a little bit, maybe caught in the wind. He made a great defensive play, and I was lucky enough that it stayed in the air, so I was running it. And I'm hearing Glazer yelling behind me for the greatest, but I was able to tow it in. So
no need at all. You'll take the goal for yourself instead of the assist?
Absolutely.
All right. Great work today. You completed all your passes. You got 2 goals, 3 assists. It's been a pleasure to watch you play today, and it was great to see you guys get this win.
Thanks a lot.
So Nick Karanet and the Philadelphia Spinners take a 25-10 win over the New York Rumble. Like I said before, just from opening pull, they got it and never looked back. Really, their defense played spectacularly. That everybody got involved pretty much, and just an all-around good team win for the Spinners, who are now 5-1. New York 1-5. But Dusty, do you have some final thoughts on this one?
That's the game for Philadelphia. If they focus in on what they did well and export that to the rest of their season, that's the sort of turning point that they can have where their defense converts those breaks, as we listen to Hironet talk about. As for New York, it's one of those things where it's repeated, but you just put it in the back mirror and forget about it. There is nothing to learn from this game. Your execution errors can only be fixed by practice. There's nothing to focus on here. Move on and see what you can do next week.
Well, the Philadelphia Spinners will take on the DC Current next week. New York will try to get back on track as they head up to Boston. That'll be our MLU Live game of the week. But on behalf of Dusty Rhodes and the rest of us here with the MLU, I'm Jeff Poster signing off. Final score, 25-10. Good night from Villanova Stadium.